is absolutely a hate crime.
Surveillance video shows May's now 13-year-old son stepping off the bus at West Point Junior High on February 7th. The driver closes the doors behind him, catching his backpack before he's dragged 175 feet, dangling close to the tires.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Sean, and today we have an interesting story from a couple of years back out of the state of Utah. And in this particular instance, as you heard right there, the mother of a biracial child is alleging that the bus driver is in fact an evil white racist, and he intentionally closed the bus door on her child's backpack in order to drag him with the bus, potentially killing him due to the fact that he is just filled with evil white racism. However, on the flip side, what the school and the bus driver are arguing is that the bus driver is old. The bus driver is somebody who probably should have retired. In fact, he retired just days after this particular instance, and he didn't even realize that he grabbed hold of this kid's book bag with the bus, thus dragging him for 150 feet, and immediately upon realizing this particular mistake, he ended up correcting it by stopping the bus and letting the kid out. And again, it was around 150 feet that this child traveled with his backpack in the door. So what I want to do today is break down all the information we know about this particular case and see if we can't suss out what actually went down in this particular story. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
When a grown adult makes a decision to do something that has a high likelihood of killing a child, there needs to be jail time. There needs to be a consequence.
So before we get into this mother's story, who's obviously upset about this situation, I just want to point out that I had not been commenting on the people in these local news segments, particularly the women, particularly the attractive women being attractive over the course of a bunch of different videos. And I'm actually starting to get comments complaining about that. So let me just make this clear. Yes, this is an attractive Utah mother. So, okay, we get that out of the way. Can we get into the story now? You absolute preverts. You disgust me in every possible way. Let's get into the claim.
Mays received a settlement of $62,000 after suing the district for racial discrimination and assault. She says the driver, John Naisbitt, is racist and targeted her biracial son.
So what this mother was pushing for back then was in fact criminal charges, serious felony criminal charges, because she is unambiguously stating that she believes that this bus driver targeted her son for being biracial and intentionally grabbed his backpack, and by the way, this had a high likelihood of potentially killing him, thus it should be felony charges. Now, it is also very important for me to note that this is after she already received a settlement from the school based on this particular incident of $62,000, so it doesn't appear that the reason why she wants criminal charges filed against this individual is due to the fact that she wants more money, because that case had already been adjudicated. And again, the bus driver is putting out his own version of events, his own story, but the mother seems dead set on the idea that this bus driver is an evil white racist, and he did this specifically to target her son in a racial way. And one of the things that she cites in her lawsuit is two different instances from back in 2017 involving this bus driver that she also attributes to racial animus. So there seems to be some stuff to back these allegations, or allegations as the super mayor would call it,
off of hearsay, false allegations, and not facts.
But maybe it's not the most substantial amount of stuff, as again, she seems to be citing two incidents from like 2 years previous in order to make her case that this was due to evil white racism. But again, let us hear the other side of the story.
We spoke to Naisbitt in May. Would you say that you're racist?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
He said, look at his dog.
Yeah.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
He said, no, I'm not racist. Look at my dog. My dog's as black as can be. I mean, come on, guys. If you wanted to know the reason why I decided to do a video on this segment all these years later, it is about adjudicating whether or not this is a hate crime, obviously, because I find that interesting, but mostly it was so I could show you this particular clip, because this bus driver, who, by the way, I don't really know as of the evidence that is presented so far if he did this intentionally or not, decided to go with the defense of, how can I hate black people? Look, I got a black dog.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
Maybe that's not the most apt comparison you want to make when on the other side of this local news segment, you have a mother that is obviously in emotional distress, calling for felony charges against you, that, hey, my dog is black. I like black things. I also have a black tie that I sometimes wear. So how can I be upset about a little biracial boy and target him racially? That seems to be a little bit absurd. Have you checked the maths? Have you checked the sciences? Have you checked my dog? Again, black as can be.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
Naisbitt retired days after the incident to avoid getting fired. He claims he gave proper warning that the door was closing and that the incident was staged.
I didn't see him in there. If I would have, I would have stopped.
So look, I'm not going to lie to you guys out there in the audience. The dog thing was funny, and it was primarily the number one factor in me deciding to cover this story all these years later. But this right here, to me, giant red flag. The bus driver is not only saying that this was an accident, that he didn't mean to do this, that he gave proper warning about the doors closing, but he's actually making the countervailing case that there is sinister intent on behalf of these 13-year-olds, alleging that the kid at the center of this decided to get his own backpack caught in the door, get himself suspended over the road as the bus drove, potentially getting him tossed into the tires, all in order to get a $62,000 settlement, or maybe they were expecting more money in a settlement from the school. To me, this allegation, or allegation as the super mayor would call it,
off of hearsay, false allegations, and not facts.
Is a false allegation based on hearsay and not facts. And in reality, it makes me infinitely more suspicious of the bus driver. Also, again, because we're trying to be the fairest judge in the United States of America, I will point out that there are other children that are beyond the white line where the bus driver is supposed to drive that are clearly trying to get off the bus. And it seems rather odd that with two other kids getting ready to get off at that particular stop, that the doors would suddenly shut on that one individual kid. Now again, the driver could have been angry. There could be some other reason for this. Maybe he just wanted to close the door but didn't intend to capture the kid. Also, it does factor into my opinion that he only drove 150 feet after this kid was attached, which could have been the time necessary for somebody to make it clear to him that there was somebody caught in the door. These kids could very well be blocking his view of said door while he's driving. But the fact is, when I look at all of the factors on this particular case, I do think that maybe criminal charges were warranted in this case. Now, I don't know what level of criminal charges need to be warranted. I don't know if it requires a hate crime enhancement or not. And I know that typically I'm against hate crime enhancements in principle because it involves mind reading, but even under the standards that they already exist, in reality, I don't know if it fits right here, but it looks like at certain points that this is in fact intentional, and there is a described previous altercation or dispute where one other student that was related to this kid was disciplined, and he thinks that they concocted this scheme post that discipline in order to get money or sympathy or some such other thing, and I find that to be incredibly ridiculous. However, in the countervailing argument, if you want to take the other side of this particular issue, the man does have a black dog.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
7 months later, no charges have been filed for the alleged assault. Mays says she called weekly asking for felony charges with a hate crime enhancement. Instead, she says he may be charged with a possible misdemeanor.
So yeah, the police were saying that they might charge a misdemeanor in this particular situation as it is a traffic violation and they don't think they can prove intent. And to be clear, if the district attorney doesn't think that he can prove or she can prove a hate crime enhancement, they shouldn't charge it. That is not the purpose of law enforcement to overcharge. Also, I will say that the local news showing this very zoomed in angle of this woman's face when she's in such distress really bothered me for some reason. And again, I feel very sympathetic for this woman because even the thought that her kid was targeted due to racial bias or any reason by a rabid or insane bus driver is very unsettling, clearly and obviously.
It brought me to my knees. You know, like, are you kidding me? My kid's life is worth a traffic violation.
Well, the Davis County attorney declined to talk on the record, but says his office is reviewing the case.
So yeah, and this is where the case appears to have stopped. I don't have any records of criminal charges being filed against this bus driver years later. I don't know if another incident has come up involving a black kid where he can avoid that incident by pointing to the fact that he has a black dog.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
But I do genuinely want to know what you guys think about this whole situation. I'm going to give you 3 categories to vote on. 1, do you think it's a hate crime? The mother is 100% right about the intent and actions of this bus driver. 2, do you think that the bus driver having a black dog is a mitigating circumstance and this was just an unfortunate accident? Or 3, do you think that the bus driver did this on purpose, but you're unable to determine whether or not there was racial motivation or just some kind of particular annoyance or targeting with this kid? There is a previously described incident on the bus involving discipline where this kid reacted against the bus driver, so it seems like personal animus, but regardless, definitely this guy should not be a bus driver, because whether it's a hate crime, whether it's intentional, or whether it's accidental due to negligence, you can't have somebody like that operating a bus with kids, and it's really terrible that this kid ended up going through this.
Have you ever mistreated a student because of its race?
No, I haven't. That was all, I don't know whether they staged it or what, but I never mistreated anybody.
Hey guys, editing Sean here. So right before I was done editing this video, I actually ended up deciding to look for the raw interview that John Naisbitt ended up doing with the local news affiliate, because I wanted to hear more about this alleged conspiracy, him saying that it was a setup and whatnot, because I was genuinely leaning toward he did this on purpose, maybe not because of racism. And wouldn't you know it, when I found the interview in full, what I discovered is that he did not really say as a defense of himself that it was some kind of conspiracy against him. That was just an offhanded comment he threw out, but what he did provide is a much more detailed explanation of what happened, and honestly, I am going to have to do a last second editing Sean judgment where I rule in favor of this man and say that this is a mistake, because it explains every single aspect of the issues that I had with the original video, including him closing the door while you still had a couple of kids waiting. And again, this is one of the reasons why it is very important to actually spend the time, effort, and energy and find videos, even if they're unlisted like this. Don't even ask me how you think I found this video, and actually get every aspect of the tale, because it can change your opinion when new information emerges. So hear out this man's actual story, his actual version of events, and then we'll go to the close, and you can leave me your comments down in the comments below. But here it is, the unabridged version of John Naisbitt's actual story and actual defense.
I'm the quietest, calmest person you'd ever see.
The lawsuit says that you intentionally closed the doors on the backpack of a seventh grade. Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, I pulled up to unload the kids. I don't know whether he'll come around. To unload the kids, and the special ed bus was parked in front, and so about 7 or 8 buses couldn't get in, so we was parked quite a ways away from where we normally unload. So I started unloading the kids like everybody did, and then they pulled forward, and I told the kids, wait a minute, let me shut the door and let me pull up. So I did, and pulled up to the curb and unloaded. Well, I guess the kid got caught in the door.
So for me, after hearing that version of events, after hearing the circumstances that surrounded it, that the bus was actually parked in the wrong space, I actually think his story makes 100% sense, and when you couple the fact that he has a black dog, I'm gonna say that John Naisbitt didn't do nothing wrong.
Say that you're racist?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be. No, I'm not racist. Some of my best friends is black. In fact, I got one that calls my kids their brother from another mother.
And I do feel for the mother, regardless of whether or not I 100% buy in to her interpretation of events. But again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a bus driver accused of a hate crime. Till next time.